Dominion Dual Doppler, only on Action News.
Tonight, 9 more U.S. troops die in Iraq when their helicopter goes down. Was it shot down? We'll have the latest. The hunt for a killer. He's on the run with 3 kidnapped girls after a killing spree. Police fear he may kill again. Health Watch. That salmon may not be as good for you as you think, maybe even dangerous. We'll tell you about a new study. And Eye on America, the baby boomerang generation. They left home, but now they're back with their parents.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
And good evening. Dan is off tonight. I'm John Roberts. This was a costly day for American forces in Iraq. 9 soldiers died in the crash of an Army Black Hawk helicopter, possibly after it was hit by guerrilla ground fire. And dozens of U.S. troops and Air Force personnel had a very close call when a giant C-5 military transport plane was hit shortly after it took off from Baghdad. With more on all of this, here is CBS News correspondent Kimberly Dozier.
The Black Hawk was trying to make an emergency landing when it crashed, killing everyone on board. It's not clear what brought the helicopter down. Local people said it was shot down by insurgents and gloated that they stole money from the dead Americans. Meanwhile, another U.S. aircraft had a lucky escape today. Insurgents, using some sort of rocket or shoulder-launched missile like this one, took aim at a U.S. military transport plane carrying more than 60 people. The plane was hit, but the pilot was able to land safely. It was a repeat of a November attack when guerrillas fired anti-aircraft missiles, damaging a DHL cargo plane. While the U.S. military has not lost a plane yet, at least 6 helicopters have been shot down in recent months. Last November, a Chinook transport helicopter was downed in the same area as today's attack, killing 16 on board. And 2 Black Hawks collided in the northern city of Mosul 2 weeks later, trying to avoid enemy fire. 17 soldiers were killed. After the recent attacks, pilots were ordered to take new measures. No more night flights for the less maneuverable Chinooks. And combat helicopters started hugging the ground, seldom in a straight line. Flying low makes the choppers harder for the enemy to spot and easier for the crew to respond to any attack. But there are up to 5,000 old Iraqi Army surface-to-air missiles unaccounted for. Plenty of manpower left to use them. In Fallujah, there are up to 6 terror cells left, according to the U.S. commander in the area. About 100 fighters in total.
We're not done yet, as there are a lot more of these folks out there.
And as the militants have proved, it only takes a few men, armed with a few rockets and missiles, to keep an entire army on alert and knock a helicopter out of the sky. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Baghdad.
When American forces suffer heavy casualties in Iraq, as they did today, it may suggest that U.S. security efforts are faltering. But the facts and the numbers are less clear-cut. National security correspondent David Martin has a reality check.
It's been 26 days since Saddam Hussein was captured, and during that time, 28 American soldiers have been killed. One more than in the 26 days before his capture. That would seem to say things are not getting any better in Iraq. But if you compare the 59 soldiers killed in November to the 23 killed in December, that would seem like things are getting better. No wonder Defense Secretary Rumsfeld is unwilling to draw any conclusions.
I see numbers that drop down, and the question is, when is it a trend? And when might it turn and go up again?
One place the numbers are down is west of Baghdad, where attacks on U.S. troops have dropped from 19 a day to 5. The effectiveness of the attacks is also down. Rocket-propelled grenades are missing their targets, and those infamous IEDs, improvised explosive devices, are no longer taking such a fearsome toll.
About 50% of the time, or even more, we're receiving tips that tell us exactly where the IEDs are, that we go and then dismantle them before we're ever attacked by them.
That sounds like progress, at least in that one area of Iraq. But this memo from a State Department office in Baghdad notes that while attacks against troops are going down, the number of attacks against civilians is actually going up. One number hasn't changed. The Pentagon is sending in more than 100,000 fresh troops and telling them they'll have to stay a year. And one more number. As many as 5,000 of the troops already in Iraq may have their tours extended by up to 2 months. unless the Pentagon can figure out some way to scrape together enough soldiers. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
In Georgia and across the nation tonight, the hunt is on for a suspected killer and kidnapper. He is thought to have murdered 4 people before abducting 3 girls, 2 of them his own daughters. Another daughter, a 10-month-old baby, was among those killed. Correspondent Mark Strassman has the latest.
In rural northern Georgia, investigators found 4 murder victims in neighboring trailers, all family members killed methodically. 3 of them shot repeatedly, and the 4th, a 10-month-old girl, apparently strangled. Her own father, Jerry William Jones, is the suspect. He's now on the run. It's believed he kidnapped his other 2 daughters and a former stepdaughter and is threatening to kill them. Local police had run across Jones before, but not like this.
I've had him in the Gordon County Jail for traffic violations. I need him back in the jail for murder. The way he's treated these people, I want him bad.
Throughout highways in the southeast, this bulletin, known as an Amber Alert, asked motorists for help spotting the 3 missing girls. And a 1991 red Ford Explorer like this one, Jones is thought to be driving. Investigators believe his motive was jealousy. Jones was fighting with his ex-wife. The 3 adult murder victims were his former in-laws.
I didn't want to believe it. That's why I came over here, just to make sure definitely that it was him.
Other relatives say Jones has a long history of violent threats and acts. Once, during an argument, he shot one of his horses. Another former in-law says after the murders, Jones called his ex-wife in Oregon, told her if she called the police, he would kill her 3 daughters one by one.
We are very, very concerned about the safety of the 3 children. And we have a tremendous amount of resources we're devoting to this investigation.
With time so critical, the FBI has now joined the manhunt. But so far, despite a number of reported sightings of the SUV, Jones and those 3 little girls remain missing. John?
Mark Strassman reporting live for us tonight from our bureau in Atlanta. Mark, thanks. Negotiations on a plea deal are reportedly continuing with former Enron CFO Andrew Fastow, alleged mastermind of the fraud that led to the company's collapse. A judge today tentatively approved a plea deal with Fastow's wife, Lee. She could go to prison for 5 months. Her term would end before her husband's would begin, so that their children would have a parent at home. On the CBS Market Watch tonight, U-Haul says it won't rent trailers to people driving Ford Explorers, saying it's had to pay too much to defend liability suits stemming from Explorer accidents. Ford insists that its Explorer is safe. U-Haul says its policy is based on, quote, negative perceptions of the vehicle. The latest tally of holiday sales finds America's retailers did a bit better than expected. Sales were up 4.2%. That news helped give Wall Street a boost today. The Dow gained 63 points. The Labor Department reported today that new claims for unemployment benefits rose last week after 3 straight weeks of declines. Lingering concerns that there aren't enough jobs may seem to undercut President Bush's new immigration proposal. But as Bill Whitaker reports, it's not that simple.
Call it bad timing. The day after the Bush administration announced plans to permit millions of illegal immigrants to seek legal employment in the U.S., thousands more Americans say they can't find work.
I'm in a position where I need to, produce something, so right now it's pretty much open.
How then do you explain that many businesses, like this restaurant, are having a hard time finding workers? Blair Salisbury searched and advertised 3 months to find the chefs, waiters, and busboys to staff his restaurant. He couldn't make it without immigrant labor. The 2 white and 1 black American who came through the door didn't stick around.
People come in and say, well, God, if I'm not going to make X amount of dollars or I'm not going to do this, I don't want to do the work. But they'll be unemployed for 3 or 4 months.
Salisbury, like a surprising